Hi everybody, Rechief here, and welcome back to yet another exciting episode of Let's Play Ace Attorney Investigations Miles Edgeworth Prosecutor's Path, episodes 1 through 5 beta. This time we've got a brand new scene to look at, sort of. We've got some new stuff to look at. Let's check it out. First of all, Cameron took a photo of the president from this spot. And he also called Miss Crane, right? At that time, the killer was already behind him, holding the murderous brick. Oh, that's all? Alright, can we look at the killer? No, it seems we can't. Alright, well, let's take a look at this instead. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Okay. About this snowman. When we recreated the scene where Mr. Cameron was killed, it had already melted. Its scarf was all soggy, and one of its button eyes was missing. Indeed, at this stage it appears that most of its original form was still intact. Although there's one spot that looks unnaturally lacking. Poor thing, I bet some naughty kid must have plucked it off. Although, from a thief's perspective, that kid does have some promise. Was it plucked off by one of the children at the orphanage? No, perhaps. It was taken by an entirely different person altogether. Oh, that's where the button's from. That's where the button's from. It's not from, anyone's jacket. It's from this snowman's eye. Poor snowman. Is this spot somehow connected to any of the evidence I hold? Oh, let's find out. This snowman, wouldn't you say it's missing something? Ah, its right eye is missing. Precisely. And what's more, that missing eye happens to be in our possession. The button that Mr. Cameron was holding on to. It's got the exact same design as the snowman's left eye. If we assume this button was indeed the snowman's eye, a huge contradiction arises. If this button is the snowman's eye, what contradiction arises? Oh, so the button... So at first I was thinking like, oh, the victim must have been on the wrong side of the snowman because the button was grabbed from the side where he's not standing, but, it was Cameron that had the button. He was way far away. I guess to better explain what my thinking was, initially I was thinking like, oh, the president grabbed the snowman, but obviously he didn't do that. Let's just go down from the top. The victim was holding on to the button. Furthermore, the button was stained with blood. In other words, he grabbed the button after he was attacked. For example, if we were to picture it in this way. After being struck in the back of the head, Mr. Cameron lost his balance. As he was falling, he reached out his hand towards the nearby snowman. However, it could not support his weight, and he collapsed while still grasping the button. Huh? That means... Oh, that means he must have been much closer to the crime scene than the picture would suggest, I guess. Mr. Cameron was near the snowman when he was attacked. Indeed, at the very least, he must have been within arm's reach. However, it's quite clear that he would not have been able to reach it from his current position. But Mr. Cameron's footprints only lead towards the flower bed. Can we be certain that those footprints really are Mr. Cameron's? It seems we'll need to investigate them one more time. Understood. I'll recreate the time the body was discovered scene one more time. Oh, okay. These footprints should match up with Mr. Cameron's shoes, right? Let's inspect them again. These footprints, are they really Mr. Cameron's? They're from size 11 shoes, and these huge footprints match up with Mr. Cameron's shoes. No matter how you look at it, they're moving steadily towards the center of the flower beds. But when Mr. Cameron was attacked, he grabbed the button from the snowman. Even with a great thief's peak human conditioning, your arm just can't stretch that far. Let alone an ordinary civilian, it'd be completely impossible. The footprints come from the shoes worn by the victim, just as the case files say. However, does that mean Mr. Cameron was the owner of these shoes? We should re-examine Mr. Cameron's shoes. Okay. I won't rest until I blah blah blah. These shoes should match the footprints, however. These shoes, it seems like they were not the ones originally worn by the victim. What do you mean? If you look closely, you'll see the laces were tied up strangely. And the size doesn't seem to fit quite right either. Okay. That would mean these huge footprints leading up to the victim's feet were most likely made by someone other than the victim. So then, the footprints leading to and from the victim's head must be Mr. Cameron's. No, not necessarily. They seem a little too small to be the victim's footprints. So none of the footprints are his? Then which way did Mr. Cameron walk from? Oh, he must have come from the orphanage. It's quite simple. The victim did not walk here on his own accord, but rather, he was carried here after he was murdered by the culprit. Oh, or I was completely wrong. That's fine too. The question now becomes, where was the killer? Where was he killed and carried from? Perhaps it was near the snowman after all. Perhaps it was. I feel like we've gotten some logic here. Can we connect these two? Oh, okay. If we suppose that Blaze was one of the kidnappers, it becomes more likely that what he dug up yesterday is connected to the abduction. Ah! What is it? I figured it out! It was treasure! Treasure! Couldn't Blaze have dug up the ransom money? The $100 million ransom. Buried in the ground until the heat had died down. It's certainly possible. I know, right? Monsters footprints data updated in my organizer. Okay. I feel like that's all the logic we can do right now. Oh, and we have a button down here that lets us change what recreation we're looking at. That's cool. So let's take a look at the one we haven't really examined yet. So you want to recreate the scene based on Mr. Cameron's eyewitness testimony? This is the moment of the incident where the president was being kidnapped. I've recreated the scene. I wonder if we can now go back here and be like, this isn't where he's supposed to be. Cameron took a blah blah blah. Okay, now. Let's look at other stuff that's happening here. This is the president just before he was kidnapped at gunpoint. The president was strong, but there's no way he'd win against a gun. And Mr. Cameron photographed the scene from the middle of the flower beds. There's something highly unnatural about this. It would have been impossible for him to grab the snowman's button from there. Indeed, we should examine the state of the other recreation once more. Okay, I guess we're not done with that one yet. So you want to recreate the scene based on the police investigation data? This is the time the body was discovered when the police were investigating the scene. Alright. I've recreated the scene. Oh, you know what? Did we ever look at the snowman? Can we look at him now? Now that he's melted. Mr. Cameron's body was moved. If we consider the button he was holding on to, it's highly likely that he was killed near this snowman. I should take a closer look. Yeah. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Let's see here. What's going on with your face? This snowman has become a sad sight to look at. It can't be helped. Snow and ice both melt away with time. Just like the mysteries of the cases you've solved, Mr. Edgeworth. As time passes, those mysteries melt away while you continue to keep your cool. You do realize I'm racking my brain trying to solve those mysteries during a case. Yeah, me too, Edgeworth. What's happening with your hat? Nothing. Can we look at the footprints? There are some size 7 footprints going back and forth. According to the police files, these are the culprit's footprints. Indeed, they seem to grow faint and disappear as they approach the road. There's not much snow left on the road after all. As expected, it'll be difficult to determine who these footprints belong to. Well, that wasn't very helpful. Is this just all the snow? Yeah, okay, it's all the snow, man. What am I supposed to look at here? Oh, hey, missing brick. Huh? There's a brick missing here. The rest are all in order. It's strange that only this... It's strange that only this one is missing. There we go. Yeah, it is. Anything else? Not really. No. I think we have some logic to connect. Now that we got that. Yeah. Perhaps the missing brick was the one used as the murder weapon. Nice. Ah, yeah, it seems to be just the right size to fit in that gap perfectly. Come on. You know you want to give it to me. Come on, come on, come on. Yes! As I thought, it seems the murder actually occurred near the snowman. Both the button Mr. Cameron was holding and the murder weapon came from there. Sorry, my my inflection was a little weird there because I was reading that too quickly. Didn't know it was coming. Indeed. Also, if we assume the killer picked up the brick near the snowman and then tried to sneak up behind Mr. Cameron... Mr. Cameron totally would have seen the person picking up the brick. Exactly. Okay, please update the recreation. Mr. Cameron was not in the middle of the flower beds, but near the snowman. Okay, I'm on it. Well then if that's true, then who the hell took this photo? This case is just destroying my brain right now. No matter how you look at it, this is strange. All the people involved in the case are gathered in the same place. Did we make a mistake here or something? One piece of evidence this recreation is based on is odd. If I had to choose which piece of evidence is fake, which piece of evidence is likely to be fake? It's gotta be the photo, right? Take that! Was this photo really taken by Mr. Cameron? That's what I'm asking. Huh? What do you mean? We have proven that whoever killed Mr. Cameron also moved the body. For what reason would they have? For what reason would they have to deliberately move his body? Perhaps the culprit wanted to falsify the Perhaps Mr. Cameron wanted to falsify the scene that Mr. Perhaps the culprit wanted to falsify the scene that Mr. Cameron witnessed. Brother. Wires are crossed up there or something. And that's why they took a fake photo? They made the president stand under the streetlight and took a photo with Cameron's camera. It would have been quite simple. Now that you mention it, Mr. Cameron's camera only had one photo on it, right? Indeed. In all likelihood, the original roll of film had been removed from the camera. And after loading a new roll of film into the camera, the fake photo was taken. I see. So this photo must have been taken after Mr. Cameron was killed, right? Cameron's photo data updated in my organizer. Exactly. This was not the scene Mr. Cameron actually witnessed. It's likely that this photo is forged evidence. Then, where did Mr. Cameron witness the president and his kidnapper? The photo isn't the only piece of evidence that indicates what Mr. Cameron witnessed. The testimony he left on the answering machine. Precisely. We should listen to the recording one more time and confirm what was said. Where else could the president and his kidnapper have been? We should listen to the photo, but I'm not going to let you listen to the photo right now. You're just going to have to figure it out for yourself. Okay, well, let's take a look at this. I take it that he wasn't here. And if the photo was staged, then he probably wasn't here, because I guess this is where Cameron was taking the shot. So if Cameron was taking the shot, that means he was here, and he was probably aiming his camera somewhere like in this situation, maybe, from that position. Well, at the very least, it has to be, like, kind of in this way. I feel like my thinking is that he was taking cover behind this area, and he was aiming this way. Because if he was trying to take a picture of the kidnapping and he was standing here and the kidnapping was happening there, he'd be in full view of the kidnappers. With that in mind, I think that there's a couple of different places where the kidnapper could have been. I think that they could have been standing here, which would have given them some coverage from the window. They could have been standing here, because then they wouldn't leave any footprints behind and it would be difficult for anyone to see them because of the door. But then also, this area here was burned, and supposedly I think they said that it was burned by like a student who was playing with matches or kerosene or something, which is, I mean, please run your orphanage better if they were doing that. Yeah, so my thinking is they were either right in front of the door or they were right here, and I'm going to try right here.
Take that!
Mr. Cameron said this on the answering machine. The light just went off. I can barely see a thing now. There are only two places here where the lights are broken. The light by the orphanage. Okay, could you please update the recreation? Roger. Okay. This is... so the kidnapper was near the orphanage. Indeed. With this, we've shown the connection between the orphanage and the kidnapping. So that's why they moved the body and took a fake photo to create false testimony, in order to remove any suspicion towards the orphanage in court. With this, the state of the recreation has changed completely. The time the body was discovered scene has probably been greatly impacted as a... The time the body was discovered scene has probably been greatly impacted as a result. That's how we speak words. Then, let's go check it out right away. Preparations are ready. Since the state of the recreation has changed once again, I should press the Y button and select Change Recreation. Let's give it a try. Okay. Yeah, what's up? So you want to recreate the scene based on the police investigation data? This is the time the body was discovered, when the police were investigating the scene. I've recreated the scene. Okay. Okay, so now this is where he died. Ah. And I'm not certain this flower was highlighted before. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. The blood splatter above the snow. There certainly was a substantial amount. It's almost as if the murder was actually committed here. But Mr. Cameron should have been attacked near the snowman. Exactly. In that case, this blood must belong to someone else. What? But the police report said this was Mr. Cameron's blood. The one in charge of this case was Blaise de Best. It would have been simple for him to falsify that information. But wouldn't it be faster to just clean up the bloodstains rather than falsify the information? He wouldn't be able to do that. Think about it. Blaise knew that Mr. Cameron's body would be discovered here, in which case the forensics department would naturally become involved. Ah, a luminol reaction. They would have discovered it with the power of science. Precisely. It would have been difficult to completely erase all traces of the blood. However, falsifying the results of a blood test would be much easier in comparison. He would just have to switch the results from the forensics reports. Aw, what a bummer, knowing those documents I read were falsified. It looks like Mr. Cameron's clothes were completely soaked in blood. If the blood scattered here got onto Cameron's clothes, that would mean at the time the blood stains here had not dried yet. I see. So then this certain somebody's blood was splattered here just a short while before Mr. Cameron was murdered. Indeed, that's exactly right. However, if that's the case, wouldn't a new contradiction arise in this recreation? Mysterious bloodstain data jotted down in my organizer. Okay. Oh no, we have to deduce. Oh, if we just look at the... So then, I've placed the body near the snowman. Now that he's gone, it feels a little lonely around here. That's not a very proper way of putting it. Since the body isn't here, we might be able to find some new clues. Let's thoroughly investigate this area. Aye, aye, Mr. Edgeworth. Yeah, I know, that's what we're doing. A yellow flower has fallen here. It's called a lion lily. Indeed, Franziska told us earlier. Apparently it comes from Asia. Yep. In the language of flowers, I think it means the bond between partners in crime. It's the bond between parent and child. Okay, so I think the game is telling us we have to deduce something here. Let's try to figure out what that might be. Is this spot somehow connected to any of the evidence I held? Let's find out. I wonder if, like, maybe we can present Cameron's photo and we'll be like, oh, there shouldn't be any blood here because the kidnappers were over there and the victim was over there. Therefore, blah, blah, blah. This evidence clearly contradicts the state of this area. Okay, we'll see that. Ah, and specifically, where does the contradiction lie? Around here, perhaps. If you don't know, just say so. I should think this over one more time. So the snow was melted by the fire. Oh. Oh. We should keep in mind when exactly the fire started and take a closer look around this area. We just have to deduce the fire. Yeah, actually, that makes sense because that would mean it looks like some of the blood was burned away by the fire, which I feel like doesn't make sense with the timeline we're running with. Eureka! Yeah. This is a clear contradiction. Huh? You mean this bloodstain? Do you see how this bloodstain is broken up by the remains of the fire? This is proof that the fire occurred after the blood had scattered around the area. Huh? But I thought the fire occurred before the murder. It seems that information is suspect as well. If the fire had broken out after the murder, then the child who started the fire should have seen the body and the bloodstains. Why then did they not come forward as a witness? It's likely that would have put Blaze at a great disadvantage. Guess we'll need to investigate the fire in more detail. Hey, you! Yes, sir! There should be some records of the fire in the police department under a different case file. I want you to bring me every last investigation report about the fire. Understood, Chifu. Oh, and one more thing. What is it, sir? Contact the House of Lang in Zhengfa. There should be evidence from this case in my old man's room. Okay. What do you mean? I just remembered why I recognize this scene. A long time ago I saw a picture in my old man's room. It was a drawing resembling this scene. What did you say? However, I think it looked like something a child drew. A child? Then the artist may have been the culprit behind the fire. It should still be somewhere in my old man's room. Have them send it over here. Understood, sir. Seems like every new piece of evidence we uncover just makes things increasingly mysterious. Shifu, I'm back! Oh, that was fast. I've brought the info on the fire the kid started and a photo of the drawing in your father's office. And also, oh, I've been waiting for this. Hurry up and hand him over. The information held by Agent Lang's father. This is it. This is exactly what I remembered. Looks to me like there are some familiar faces in this photo. Now, of course, I could be wrong, but it looks to me as though that guy on the left is Dogen the assassin, and that guy on the right is Blaze the Best. Interesting. This was the picture drawn by the child depicting the night of the incident. It sure looks like it was drawn with a child's touch. As I thought, the one who drew this is most likely the child who started the fire. Child's drawing data jotted down in my organizer. Shifu! What now? Sorry, but it's gonna have to wait. Hey, Mr. Prosecutor. Why do you think my old man had this? Perhaps he obtained it during the course of his investigation into the incident. Although I don't know why he would have concealed it. Agent Lang, might I be able to see the details of the fire? Yeah, sure. Allow me to read it post-haste. The boy who started the fire snuck out of bed on the night of the incident. It seems this boy went missing several days later. New theory based on the evidence that we have uncovered thus far. Sebastian de Best is not really Blaze de Best's biological child. He is, in fact, the son of what's-his-name, the pastry chef from a couple cases ago, who went missing. He wound up at the orphanage, and then Blaze de Best adopted him. I don't know why yet, but we'll get there. Man, that's a freaky-looking guy. That's also a freaky-looking guy, actually. Sorry, Jill. What? Don't tell me that he witnessed something he shouldn't have. That's horrible. He was only a child, after all. Of course, that raises the question of why Sebastian wouldn't remember any of this. Maybe he was just too young. While I'd hate for that to be the case, we can't rule out the possibility entirely. I wasn't too young, because when we had that photo of those kids together, and they both looked like they were elementary aged. Huh? Apparently, the boy left some stuff behind at the orphanage, and it was taken as evidence. What's this? What's that doing here? Mr. Prosecutor, do you recognize this? Yes. I know one piece of evidence that's related to it. Which piece of evidence is related to what the boy left behind? Well, as a matter of fact, I don't know what it's doing here. But isn't that the missing horn from this Mozilla doll? No way. You mean this came off the president's? You know of it. Yeah. I've noticed the president kept it close by as a decoration. I always thought it was strange how one of the horns was missing. If you twist the horn, this doll will play back any previously recorded audio. So if we put the missing horn back in place, we might be able to hear a different recording. Oh, that's cool. Indeed, it is possible. The doll is currently on the 51st floor of the Grand Tower. Hey, you heard that, right? Yes, sir. I'll be right back. But what did you want to tell us? Man. Whatever. Chifu, I've got it. The mighty Mozilla doll. Well done. Give it to the prosecutor over there. If we insert the horn found at the orphanage into the doll, it's a perfect fit. Well, can you hear anything? Mr. Huang, it's Amy. It's been a while. I saw the news that you would be coming to this country. I was really nervous about doing this, but I decided to send you a message. Please stop the playback. Judge Courtney? What's wrong? Stop it. Now! It's a boy. Your son. He's just been born. I'm sorry. That's all I wanted to tell you. His name is John. John Marsh. It's a fine name for him, don't you think? Marsh. Did she say John? I'll be waiting in the courtyard of the orphanage at midnight on February 9th. Even if it's just once, I want John to be able to meet you. I'm sorry if I'm being selfish, but I'll be waiting. Well, that explains why Justine is not a very old parent relative to her child. No way. That was my... John.
What's the meaning of this, Miss Courtney?
John is not my real son. He's adopted. Did John know about this? Of course he knew. John's mother, Amy Marsh, passed away about 5 years ago. She and I were cousins. Since we were young, we've always been really close. We were often mistaken for sisters. That's why, when she passed away, I thought it was only natural that I look after John. Also, there were circumstances which prevented me from revealing his father's identity. I never even told John his father's name. And now it's all been revealed thanks to the recording on that doll. Did John's mother send the doll to the president? Hey, John, was the president, really my dad? Yes, he was. Before you were born, Amy worked as a diplomat in Jiangfa. A diplomat? So that must be how she became acquainted with President Huang. Hang on. Didn't you tell me she worked at the orphanage? Yes. After returning to this country, Amy left her job as a diplomat. She always had great passion for charity work, so she began working at the orphanage.
Hey, Miss Courtney. So this Amy girl, she called the president there herself, but she never showed up at the scene of the SS5 incident. What's with that?
Amy couldn't make it. Apparently someone had been following her the whole night. Perhaps it was Blaze. I can't say for certain, but it's possible that it was his doing. After that, Amy never got another chance to see the president again. So, she died 5 years ago. This conversation must be painful for John. Oh, right. Hey, John, you thirsty? How about I buy us both some juice? We can go together. I'm a part of this, too. I'll listen until the end. Besides, I can afford to buy my own juice. Oh, shot down by a kid. John, do you understand the reason I met with the president 2 days ago? The secret meeting from 2 nights ago. I wanted to tell him about Amy's death and that you were alive and well. But I see. That's why you couldn't tell us your reasons for meeting with the president until now. I get it. She would have had to reveal his connection with John. I brought a bouquet of lion lilies so that he would understand I truly did know about Amy. Those flowers are a dear memory to the president and Amy. The first present she received from the president was a bouquet of lion lilies. But now, even he has passed away. If only he were still alive. Perhaps I could have introduced him to John.
Shifu, I'm sorry to interrupt this atmosphere, but there's something I need to say. Oh, what is it now? Can't this wait?
Well, actually, there's one last item that's been delivered here from Jiangfa. I have here the president's will.
What?
president's will?
My old man received a great number of special medals from the president himself. As a token of his trust, the president left his will in the protection of the Lang clan. Those medals in that will, they were the pride of our clan, our family treasures, so to speak.
But what is in the president's will? We're going to have to find out next time. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. In the next episode, Lang reads from a sheet of paper that doesn't have a saying from an ancient Zhang Fa Ian on it. Bye.